All right, everyone, you did it. You asked me the question. So today we are going to break down ListView versus CollectionView, an epic battle to display lists of data in your Xamarin.Forms apps. So tune in. Hey everyone, I'm James Montemagno and I'm back for another Xamarin 101 video. Today I'm literally taking your questions from our recent videos on the Xamarin.Forms ListView, which is why aren't you just using the collection view? Because that's supposed to be the replacement for the list view. So thanks to you, everyone that reached out on my Twitter and on YouTube below on the recent videos. I'll put them up over there, and make sure, of course, you subscribe so you get notified every single time I put out a new video here on the channel. Now, you asked in the comments and on Twitter, why exactly did I not just go right to the collection view? Because that's the evolution, right? That's the next step. Why even talk about the list view? So today what I wanted to do is break down list view versus collection view, when you would want to use either of them, and how you can actually reuse a lot of your MVVM architecture and almost a lot of the data bindings that you have already inside of them. Now, I went to the list view and I said in the first video, if you go back, you can watch that, was that the list view just kind of works. It's a way to display a data in a list. There are some really cool context actions for like long pressing and swiping built in, pull to refresh is built in. And to me, I grew up with the list view, it was like the very first thing. And it's sort of the same battle that I think iOS developers have, which is UI table view or UI collection view. Like, well, what do you use? And a lot of people just opt for the table view because it does a lot of really nice things. But the collection view in Xamarin.Forms is that evolution of the list view. And in fact, it adds tons of new features and capabilities inside of this control. So you can really create stunning applications, and all of the things that you could do in the list view, you can do in the collection view and more, obviously, which makes a lot of sense. So let's head over and get started. All right, so what I want to show you is that this is our app. This is the one that we were building out. We have our MVVMification of our list view, and this is using groups. So we actually have different coffee here, blue bottle, some different coffee down here. And we even have a button that says load more. It can load more data and group them into this list, okay? So as we scroll down, we see that there. It's pretty snappy. I can tap on one or long press on one, get these favorite or delete icons. If I tap on one, get selected. Now, if we look over in the code over here, it's not too crazy. We have a list view. We're telling it to recycle elements. We are having grouping enabled, pull to refresh is enabled. We're not using any separator visibility at all, just set to none so you don't see any separator in between the items. And then down over here, we have the item template. So some unique things on the list view itself is that it has context actions. That's that long press, or on iOS, it would be swipe off to the right. And here I have a favorite and a delete for is destructive. Now, below I just have a simple frame, and that's what's displaying those items. And I also have this header and footer over here. Now, if we take a look at this application again, here's our header, coffee of the world. This is our group header over here. And in fact, if you look, I'm just have a data binding here. You can customize these. I'm just using the default ones out of the box, but you can give it a template. You can kind of put anything you want inside of it. So it is relatively flexible. Now, this is using this simple view model that we have over here. And it has a few things inside of it, like a collection of coffee, grouped coffee, has a refresh command. So if I pull to refresh here, it goes off, hits the pull to refresh. I've added a few other items inside of here. So we have a selected coffee, a favorite coffee, a refresh, a load more, a delay load more, and a clear. And we'll talk about what I have those here in a second. But that is our list view. I mean, it displays data. It looks pretty good. It works pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it. But I also have a collection view version over here. And you're probably saying, wow, James, like that looks very similar. Yes, it does look very similar. And that's the point, is that I wanted to show you that you can make the collection view look nearly identical to the list view. Now, the collection view is optimized using the recycler view and the UI collection view on iOS. And that means that you're probably going to get better performance because things are cached automatically out of the box, out of the gate, right? It's all there for you. And if I go over to this CollectionView XAML page, what I want to show you is that it's actually not too crazy different from the ListView. So the first thing that we're going to note here in our code is that I have a refresh view. Now, the CollectionView inherently does not have pull to refresh built in, but the Xamarin.Forms team added a refresh view many releases ago, and that allows you to control pull to refresh on just about anything that's scrollable. So a scroll view, a list view, a collection view. So I wrapped the collection view here inside of a refresh view. If I go back over here and pull to refresh, I get the same exact functionality right here. And in fact, I'm using the same commands, the same as refreshing command, and even can control that refresh color. Now, I also want to show you that I have very similar things to my list view. In fact, I copied and pasted this code from my list view into the collection view, and I just changed this to collectionView.header and collectionView.footer. And when we come over here, we can see coffee of the world. And if I scroll down, load more, clear, okay? Okay, so a few things here. One, we're going to note that I have isGrouped set to true. So that's a nice one. If we look at our list view over here, isGrouping enabled. Those are the same things. The difference here is that while I do have the coffee groups as the items source, I have to give it a group header template over here. Also, it'll just give me a toString, which may work okay, but here I'm going to give it a specific data template and just define it here. Now, the nice part about this is that just like ListView, you can customize it as well. It works exactly the same. So if you had a group header template from your ListView, you could bring it over. So far, not too different, except for you will notice here that there's a lot more properties on this collection view that I'll go into. Notice item source, selected item, they're the same. Here, I'm going to tell you selection mode is single. So if I tap on one, the same data binding is working here. Like I said, the data binding context here is exactly the same. One nice thing is that there is multi-select. You can set this to none or single or multi-selection and use the Visual State Manager to give different states when different items are selected. Now I am just going to go ahead and use single though, but you can use a multiple. So if you had a list of different items, you can go ahead and put those in there. That's the first big difference that you'll see. All right, now there's this other thing called EmptyView. This is pretty neat actually here, is you can give it a view to display when there's no items inside of the list. So, or the collection view. Here I had a clear button, there it is. If we scroll in here, it says no coffee, no coffee, no coffee. If I pull to refresh here, it's gonna go reload the coffees from scratch, and now it's gone. So that's a nice view because you don't have to do anything special. You just say, here's an empty view, and when the list is empty, you're good to go. If you take a look at the documentation, you'll actually note that there's all sorts of ways to control this and really go deep on it. All right, now let's talk about the item view because there is no specific view cell in the collection view. They got rid of the view cell representation here, which means they also got rid of the context actions, which is really good. And here inside of the item template, we're going to see a few different things actually. We're going to notice that I added a swipe view. Okay, we'll talk about that in a second. But I have the same exact view. This is literally the same exact code from right here. I just copied and pasted it, okay? But I did get rid of the view cell. So I got rid of the view cell because it is just inside of the data template. And that's sort of a nice, like one layer removed, one less thing in the view hierarchy. Now, since there are no context actions, how are you going to swipe to delete? How are you going to long press on different things? Well, there's the swipe view. This is fully 100% stable and released in Xamarin.Forms 5.0, which I'm running right here. And of course, you can grab this code on GitHub. Links in the show notes below. But a swipe view allows you to add swipe items. I've just added some defaults here, which is a swipe item, which is a background color, text, and a command. So I'm reusing the favorite command, all that nicety there, the same data bindings that we had inside of it. And if I go ahead and swipe over here, pretty cool. That means I get swipe on both iOS and Android. Now, I want to also tell you that you can use these swipe views inside of the list view too, right? You could add this in there. There's no reason that you couldn't. So you get that one-to-one inside the list view. But the nicety here is that, hey, it's just the default. You really get to control that. Cool thing is that you can do left, right, top, and bottom. So you're not really restricted. You can have multiple items, and these can be fully customized. These are control templates, so you can give it anything you want. I'm just using the default here for reference. Okay, so you can tap, you can swipe to delete, swipe to do anything. Here's another cool one that's actually built in automatically, which is this thing called remaining items threshold. This is sort of the load on demand, lazy loading that can happen here. This is cool. Remaining threshold says, hey, when there is one item, when you're scrolling and there's one item from the bottom, go do something. So go load more data. So here I'm using this delay load more items inside of here. So this is kind of cool. What I'm saying is when I scroll to the bottom here, if it's less than 10 items, which currently it's 5, just go ahead and return. Else go ahead and load more items. So first I'm going to do is hit load more items, and we're going to see that now I should have about 10 items in there. And as I scroll to the bottom, hit load one more time, we're going to get more items here. And now as I scroll, we're just going to load more items until I reach 20. So automatically, now here I'm going to pull the refresh and clear it out again. We'll get 10 one more time. And as I load more items, now we have 15. And this is going to keep loading more data. There you see more data just loaded there. Refresh the view. So as I'm going through, I'm able to actually continuously load on demand as I scroll through. And that's just built into the collection view, okay? So that's another nice thing that the collection view is going to give you over the list view. Now, on top of that, one thing that you may note here is that this has a vertical list. That's really, really cool because that's the default. However, I can change this. Let's go ahead and stop this over to a horizontal list. Horizontal list. And what I'll do down here is instead of doing right items, I'm going to say top items, because obviously if I'm scrolling horizontally left and right, that's not going to be good, at that point. So we're going to go ahead and boot this up again. And this is really, really neat because now we're able to see our items left to right instead of up and down automatically using just the simple items layout. And the nice thing here is that these are just some of the fundamentals built into the collection view, but there are a lot more complex things built in. So you can have custom item layouts and do really, really complex things automatically. Okay, so let's go ahead and get this booted up. I'm gonna go ahead and load over here. And now as we go left and right, it's, I didn't optimize anything, but we can see here, I can scroll left and right automatically, load more items, and I can even swipe down. I would probably want to customize this a little bit, but it's the whole view to be able to favorite and delete, which is quite neat actually inside of there. So that's one thing that I super duper like right inside of the collection view. So you're saying, okay, James, like you have this collection view, you're telling me that it's awesome, and what else can I do with it? And when should I use it? When shouldn't I use it? Well, I really think that you should use it probably if you outgrow the list view. Like if the list view is there and it's working for you and it's great, go for it. But if you're thinking about adding swipe views, if you're thinking about adding pull to refresh in there, those optimized new views are going to give you more flexibility and more customization out of the gate. Especially if you're doing grouping, I think the grouping part of the collection view is very, very nice, and you can go really, really complex on it. So if you ever want horizontal or you want up and down, you want multiple grouping, you're good to go. The other thing that I didn't show inside of here is that the collection view also can do columns. So you can specifically have multiple items in a column, which is really, really important when you're laying out your different controls. So for here, I was just showing a vertical list. However, you can do multiple too. So let's take a look at that. All right, so now what we're going to do is instead of using the built-in items layout, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to paste in some code here. And here we can see that I am saying grid items layout, orientation vertical, span 2. All right, Let's go ahead and reload this. Now, this is really nice because there are a bunch of different layouts built in. By default, we saw the horizontal items layout and the vertical items layout. So this is a grid items layout, which means that you can create your own custom layouts. You can do crazy things with the collection view because it's really optimized to do crazy things. So this one's really cool. Again, it's going to be vertical, but now we're going to see a span of 2 items inside of here. So here we go. Let's go ahead and boot this up. And what we'll note inside of our view, when we go into the collection view, now we have 2 items inside of here. I didn't do any work, just automatically built in. And actually the top items are still pulling down from the top. But you can see I can see this inside of here. And this is really cool because you can then optimize it and say, if I'm on a tablet, show 2, else show 1 on a phone. So just like that. And you get multiple items, you get the grouping inside of here. And this is really, really cool. Check this out. If I load more items, as I scroll down, we're going to do that continuous load and it all works as expected. You probably don't want it to go from the top and bottom like that on the pull to refresh. So maybe we would change that up a little bit, but it is kind of cool just to kind of see it all working there. There's a lot of fine grained control in this thing. And in fact, what I want to show you is that the documentation is absolutely spectacular. So inside of the collection view, you'll see data, layout, selection, empty views, scrolling, and grouping. Okay, there's all sorts of stuff in here. So inside of here, these are the things that we talked about. You define your appearance inside of here. So you can see the list of monkeys that are going on here. You can use item template selectors as well, just like you could inside of the list view. So all that stuff works. Over here, they talk about the context menus, which again are the swipe view. So you can define those inside of your code. There is pull to refresh. So again, the pull to refresh, just like we saw earlier, is going to work exactly the same. And then that loading data incrementally, it's all there for you. I love this. Look at this. We have things such as our horizontal list of data, which we saw. You can do multiple rows horizontally, vertically inside of there. You can give it different item spacing in between each of the items. You can dynamically resize the items based on the height, all sorts of different things. And it has full right to left support too. I mentioned the collection view selection, all this great documentation showing you how to do different selection states inside of here, multi-select as well. And of course, you can clear the selections. You can pre-select items by setting the selected items instead of selected item. There's all sorts of stuff. Talked about the empty view, give it an empty view. If you want to, you can literally just give it text. You know, there's some simple things inside of here, or you can give it a custom one. You can do all the scrolling detection. You can scroll to a specific item. There's really, really complex things. You get all sorts of data inside of here. And then of course, the grouping is what we talked about, fully customizable grouping header and footer templates on side of the collection view. All right. So I said it earlier, when should you use the collection view? When should you use the list view? I like to start with the list view. There's sort of less options for me, so I can just put data inside there. You can use both of them, right? There's no reason not to use multiple controls based on what is right for your application and your page and the data that you're displaying. I hope that you really like this. If you have feedback and you have comments and you have questions or you have opinions on the collection view versus the list view, leave them down in the comments below. And of course, let me know what you would love to see here on my YouTube channel as we continuously build out this application in my Xamarin 101 series. Now, I said I was going to do some different event to command videos, but I really wanted to jump on this topic because I got a flood of just great comments on Twitter and on YouTube asking for this breakdown here. You can grab this code on my GitHub, but more importantly, don't forget, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. That helps that YouTube magical algorithm so other people can find the video. And of course, subscribe and hit that notification bell so you get notified every single time I release a new video here right on my channel. Finally, before I go, don't forget I do Twitch stream on Fridays over at twitch.tv/JamesMontemagno. There you'll find me building out all sorts of applications. Currently, I'm building out a Peloton clone where I use ListView, I use CollectionView, I use Shell, a whole bunch of really cool things, including the Xamarin Community Toolkit. You definitely want to check those out. And past episodes are here on my YouTube, so make sure you subscribe because I release those videos weekly as well. All right, thanks everyone for tuning in. Again, please leave some comments below and please ding that notification button and bell. And until next time, I appreciate your time and have a good one.